Welcome to the uh, Brand India Leadership Awards and the interviews regarding that. And how are you and how are you doing today?
Great, Annie. I feel wonderful to have this session with you. First of all, I really respect you for what you have been doing as an entrepreneur and giving getting this chance to take an interview with you. Uh, I feel so very wonderful to do this.
Thank you, thank you. So let's start right away. Like say from being awarded the best project manager and patron of change in an IT firm. How did you become an entrepreneur? Can you say about your entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, it's quite a long journey. In fact, my I am a, electronics and communication engineer. And after the engineering graduation, as most of the students want, I also wanted a job. So immediately the opening was in an IT firm. So I jumped and grabbed the opportunity. And from then on, I had a really rewarding career in the IT field. I consider my almost 20 years I was in the IT job, and I consider myself lucky to be part of that organization. And I really value whatever that organization taught me in those 20 years. However, after a few years, there is some kind of a realization, right? All of us have some kind of a realization after a while. So I was continuously thinking whether this is what I really wanted to do in my career. And I thought I have to give back to the society in some form or the other. And meanwhile, my father had an institution. He started an institution in Calicut long time back. That was for giving technical trainings to the students. I thought, why not just take a jump into that and see what is happening there. And once I started looking into it part time and understanding what's happening there, I really got interested, and that was something which was giving back to the society. Basically, in that, in our ITI or Industrial Training Institute, we provide training to the people or to the boys, mostly boys who are from the socially or economically backward communities, and they get trained in blue collar jobs. So I thought that was the change that I was looking forward to. And once I started part time, and I slowly got interested into it in giving the training to them, and that became my passion. And now I'm full time into it.
Okay. You said that it's actually a father's business. That's something that you took it up as something of your own, so that you can give it back to the society. And how fulfilling is it for you now that you started doing it and you've been there for some time? How do you feel like the journey been? And
Initially, I found it as very, very challenging because, right, being an employee in an IT organization, even though it had its own challenges, life was a little more easier there. You just have to complete your job, or probably you handle your team, and then end of the day, that's it, and you get your salary. So, but when I started into this new venture, I realized how difficult it was for my father, who started this from the scratch and built it up to this level. And he was no more when I started this journey. So that was an added challenge for me because I never had an opportunity to learn from him or understand what were the challenges that he went through, or what are the challenges that I should foresee. So um, so that was on one side it was very fulfilling for me, that I got the satisfaction on this is what I really wanted to do, that I am making a change to somebody's life in this world directly. And on the other side, I really experienced a lot of challenges, and I missed a lot of advice from the people who were behind this.
What marketing strategy actually do you employ in, like, in the business? How do you market yourself? Do you have any particular way that you do it?
Yeah, my institution, as I told you, it is an industrial training institute. So we train young folks, that's mostly teenagers, like 16 to 20, 25 years of age. The guys come in that age range. And um, we teach them on these engineering subjects like electrical engineering, automobile engineering, then their mechanical is there, and also the day-to-day job like a plumber or a welder or a auto mechanic, an auto electrician, stuff like that. So it has been running. This institution has been running for the past 40 years in the small town of Calicut. So I never had to start from the scratch. But the only thing is that we never had a high-level publicity. So mostly the students come back to us from mouth to mouth publicity. Okay, word of mouth is something that we really depend on. And the other thing that is quite interesting or that fascinated me was that the people who passed out of our college, they brought their sons to here. So in the last couple of years, I have had at least 5 people come back and say that, okay, I studied here. I want to make sure that my son is also studying here. So that actually gives me goosebumps, and that actually talks a lot about the quality of education that we used to provide here. Otherwise, nobody would want to do that, right? So if you don't like a place, then you never go back and put your son there back in that place. So that is one thing which we really bang on. And the other things, the normal advertising strategies like social media notifications. We have the Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp, and Insta, and all those social media in place. We have a website, not a hi-fi stuff, but the basic framework is there. And I have a lot of things to be done to market it to the next level right now. That is in my plate.
Yeah, so very great to hear that. So do you have more of girls joining in, or do you have very less number of girls joining in to the
In
IT
fact,
courses?
yeah, in fact, the number of girls is very less. I think that is it's kind of a stigma that is running around there because see if you look at a place and see that 90 percentage of the boys are studying there, you really hesitate to go there, and then maybe it's forbidden there, or maybe girls are not getting a good treatment there. They might think like that. I just want to make that change and bring that change over. This year because of the COVID, I could not make any major changes. Actually, our admission strength is also very less as of today. But however, we want to do that change. We tried brainwashing a couple of girls, especially in that economic background. From that economic background, from where they come, right? So mostly they are like sons and daughters of people like masons or carpenters or coolies and all that, right? So from their household, getting a girl into an electrical or making that girl an electrician, there's a little bit of change that we are looking at there. So that is something which we need to get there.
Okay. Uh, can you explain some make or break moments in your career?
Yeah, from an entrepreneurship perspective, one major stuff that haunted me for a long time was some. I don't want to name exactly what exactly the problems were, but there are some policies that government regulatory bodies want us to take care of, which may not be any much useful to the customers or even to the organization. But as a policy, they have to implement that to all the organizations. But for some reason, we were not able to do that at the right time. So because of that, we got into a problem, and then we had to solve it. We had to solve it. Ultimately, we solved. That's it. So
Okay.
I thought maybe that's the end of the journey at that point in time, and maybe they'll just cancel the license, right? Because ours is an accredited center for the training. It's a government accredited center. We have both the state government and central government accreditation. So at one moment I thought it's going to go, everything is going to go, but then we survived. Somehow we fixed everything and then we survived.
Do you actually follow any particular quality policy like ISO or anything related to that? Do you have any kind of certifications regarding that?
Yeah, not exactly a certification, but the government mandates us to be at an NSQF level, that they have levels 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So our courses are defined at NSQF level 5. So we meet all those criteria that has to satisfy that. That is National Skill Quality Framework. That is something that central government has introduced for ITIs.
So do they monitor it regularly, or how do you do the further servicing for the students? Like
Yeah,
have to renew it or something?
yeah, they do that. They actually do an audit once every 3 years. That's what their policy is. And they also have come up with a rating system, but I think that's in that initial phase. We have all rated all our ITIs in some. They have some rating scales and all that. But it's a huge system, right? It takes time for them to implement all those rating systems and all that. But they do have an inspection procedure. Yeah, they have.
So, do you have any placement cell, or how do you place them? How do you bring people into your center? What kind of an encouragement do you give to get them to join your center?
Yeah, we have a fully functional placement center, and it is headed by a placement officer, which is one of our staff itself. And what we do is, end of the year, it is a 2-year training. Most of the courses are 2-year trainings. We also have short-term sessions for those who are immediately looking for a job placements. But the government accredited ones are the 2-year courses. And end of the second year, we bring all the students. We give them career counseling sessions and all that within the institute itself. And during the last phase of the second year, we give them additional trainings specifically targeted to how to interview, how to attend interviews, and etc. The problem that I see with our kids is their hesitation to talk openly. Even though they are very good technicians, you give them a fan which is broken, and they'll fix it. But then if you ask them, "Hey, how did you fix it?" they won't be able to answer to you. That's a problem. So first thing is they're hesitant to talk, and second thing is they are hesitant to talk in English, because right now we are looking at placing them across the country, like not only in Kerala itself. So that is one another session that we give. We give them how to take interviews, how to talk freely in English. So those kind of sessions are given to them. And then the companies normally call us. That's what normally happens, because I told you, right, it's 40 years existing in the locality. So there are companies who call us regularly, and they tell us that they need so many number of people, like 5 people, 10 people, etc. So we directly arrange the interview between the candidates and the companies. Mostly it is telephonic interview, and sometimes they come and conduct an campus placement also. So it's like, and we also have this bulletin board which displays campus, whoever is placed using the campus placements and all that. And even some of the boys actually do not come for the interviews. They say that, no, I don't want to get placed here. I want to go abroad. So they have their relatives or friends waiting for them to complete this course, and then they are ready to be placed abroad. And since this is an NSQF level 5, it is actually internationally recognized also. So outside India also, these guys are highly recommended.
Really great to hear that, Ranju. According to you, what are the most important things for progressing as an owner or director of a business?
Uh, in my opinion, uh, I think first and foremost, we need to have the clarity about the vision and mission of the enterprise. And once you are clear about what exactly you want to achieve and or what exactly or how exactly you want to achieve, then it's only the willpower that will take you forward. And we need to have the initiative also to take it forward. Apart from that, you should be ready to lead from the front rather than slowing down, because there are a lot of people as an entrepreneur. There are a lot of people who are actually looking forward to seeing what you are doing, right? So I think that is something all of the entrepreneurs need to have. That's pretty much it that I can think of right now.
Did you ever have to turn down an offer or something, and why did you have to do that? It's something you didn't like, or
Yeah, when if it doesn't agree with the values of the organization, I really don't think a second thought. I just turn it down somehow. Most of the time, I do not respond so that they themselves will go.
okay, okay. So, what do you actually look for in an employee? What are the qualities, or what do you look for in an employee?
I think the same thing that their attitude and how they will fit into our organization's culture, because uh, I consider the organization should be a second family of ours, because once you are into the organization, everybody should feel that it is our family and work towards that common objective. So if they have to be a family, they have to believe that whatever the vision is of the organization, they should also get used to or accustomed to the uh, characteristics of the organization. And secondly, definitely their skill sets and experience do matter, because when you say staff, for us it is mostly teachers and instructors who teach them. So their skill and experience really does matter. Yes.
Have you experienced any challenge as a woman in business during your overall career? And if yes, how did you tackle it or deal with it?
Yeah. Uh, Not in the second phase of my career. Like in my current initiative, I have not faced anything as yet. I think it is yet to come for me. But in the in the first phase of my career in the IT, can I say that? Is
Yes,
that
of
valid?
course.
Okay. So in the IT field, I would say that it could be my feeling. I don't know, but I have worked in several customer proposals. I've been. I'm a delivery person. Like I used to work from the development perspective, but I do get involved in the customer proposals and a lot of sales initiatives happen in an IT environment. Sometimes you give contribution to the initiatives so much that you take it to your heart, but sometimes um, once the deal gets signed without you, right? So I felt that there is something or somewhere they don't want a woman maybe in that party time or something like that, and that's where usually the final decision happens. Not usually, but sometimes. I would say only sometimes.
Okay. So, do you really feel that gender balance and having a more diverse workforce is important? And if yes, why? What are your thoughts about
Definitely, a balance is required, right? That is the law of nature. So if there are five women, there should be five men. That's how the nature has been for not only for human beings, for every organization, for every organism, right? It should be there. So even in the corporate world, that is something which everybody says, the glass ceiling, right? So why why we are not reaching there is because we don't know what is going to happen once we reach there, and then sometimes we don't even know what is above that glass ceiling. So I believe that should be there. And I think there are the intelligence quotient and the emotional quotient stuff that is going all around right now, right? Having women in that top or the corporate, what do you say, the CXO level, it gives a different um, perspective on the emotional intelligence perspective is what I think. We should give it a try. There should be more women in top leadership and see what change that they can bring in. We see our Minister Nirmala Sitaraman bringing a lot of changes, right? That's a lady whom I admire a lot. So, uh, so she is there with all the other ministers, but bringing a lot of big changes to our country. So should be there.
So how has CIMSME helped you in your journey? What do you think how CIMSME has contributed to your journey, and how can you contribute to CIMSME?
Uh, First and foremost, the the connections. Number one is the connection. I never thought I would talk to you, even to you. Even the Santosh sir is there, right? There are a lot of people. Anju ma'am is there. Uh, the connections that CMSMA is bringing to each one of us, that is a treasure that we all should we should consider ourselves lucky to be having that treasure. Uh, Secondly, I don't know. There could be some things which I'm just a person who is standing here and seeing what is going to happen. So there might be a lot of things which are in store. And second question is how can I contribute? Uh, Honestly speaking, I don't know what good I can bring into CIMSME, but obviously I'm a person of word. So if there is anything that I could do to help, I'm ready to help. And maybe I can provide my people or my students to all of your organizations. If you consider that as a help, yes. And anything else, I'm here, ready to
Yeah,
help.
I believe that would be good because all of us as different organization with different characters, we might need interns for some work or the other. So for us also, when we are in a struggling phase, to get an intern would get us to finish our jobs. So that is a good idea. And I think you can think about it. And when we have our meetings next time, we can all think about it. Uh, thank you.
Sure.
Good. Uh, like, did you have any funding issues, like as you are in your organization, or since it was already there for you, you didn't have to be worried about it, or
Yeah, funding issues were there, of course, it was there. And I remember in my childhood, my father and my mother talking to each other about the funding issues. Yes, so I know it is there, it is part of the stuff. But it's mostly bootstrapping. The moment I started into this one, it's like mostly bootstrapping that we have done. But we have to expand. We need to have more funding coming in. We need to expand. Ours is a registered private limited company. So I think for expansion plans, we'll have to go for equities and all that.
what kind of expansion are you looking like? Are you having thinking about more branches or of your ITI, or how do you plan to expand? What are your plans regarding that?
Okay. My first plan is to include additional courses in my institute itself. It's a step by step, slow one which I'm thinking of, because I have to balance both sides of my work and family. So I want to do it slowly, steadily. So first thing is I want to increase the current strength of my institute. Right now we have only 200 students in my institute. So I just want to increase that first. Then see my ultimate aim is to spread it nationwide. You should dream big, right? So my ultimate aim is to have it nationwide. And in Kerala, I have only this one branch in Calicut. I need to have it in Trivandrum. and at least in some of the other districts. Um, but that's only after I increase my current strength in my institute.
Uh, what was your biggest mistake, or how did you deal and learn from it? And if you can explain it, that is all.
I think the other answer I gave you regarding the government policy and stuff like that, right? I think I tried to fight it back initially because I thought that's not really required, and end of that thing, I realized I should not really fight it because that's something which you cannot change immediately, and it's not worth the energy that you spend on. That's it.
Okay. Since your firm is located in Calicut and actually you're most of the time in Trivandrum, it's like quite almost 11 hours apart. How do you balance your work and your family life?
Uh, it's a rope walk, definitely yes. So I try to empower both sides of the equation. Um, my kids are a little bit grown up. They are in the 12th standard and 8th standard, so I don't have to spoon feed them, obviously. Um, but even then, I try to tell them you have to take care of yourself, otherwise you won't be able to go in the future. You will be finding it difficult. On the other side, from a work perspective, also, that is one thing which I actually believe works also. In my IT career, that is something which actually worked really well for me because people like more responsibilities. They think that is kind of an empowerment, or actually, that is actually empowerment because you give them more responsibilities, you give them more authority. They really like it, and I try to do that to the maximum possible. That's not. It is also a balance, right? You cannot lose 100% control. Uh, However, they'll have to be empowered. So that is one thing which I do. Other than that, I am also in that rope walk kind of a situation.
Do you have anybody as your role model, any women leaders, or will you be interested in helping, help in lifting other women into an entrepreneurial journey or generally in their life? How do you want to go answer that question?
Okay. So the first question, who inspired me? Uh, my answer would be my father, especially from an entrepreneurship perspective. Because as I told you earlier, I was very comfortable doing a job in the IT field and it pays well also. So very comfortable with that. But uh, the very idea that what difference can I make, and then my father's institution, and I started looking into that institution. I realized how much of challenge he would have taken in to establish it to that level. That actually inspires me a lot. He was an officer in Indian Air Force from the technical wing, and from there he took a voluntary retirement and started this institution. I remember while he was running the institution when I was still a child, he used to teach the students. At least a couple of them were taught free of cost, and those kind of stuff. It actually inspires me a lot. That brings a lot of change to people around us. If we can change at least one person around us, I think that is the most rewarding thing. The second thing is women entrepreneurs or women leaders who inspired me. The one person who always comes in front of me is Mrs. Sudhamurthy. She's the founder of Infosys Foundation, right? And I know, like, I have heard a couple of her interviews. Never got a chance to interact with her, uh, but I really would love to interact with her at least once. She used to say she was the one lady who was the um, engineer in Tata's telco, I believe. when she started the career, and from there how she fought to be, everybody used to look at her and all that, right? So that's a totally different perspective, and how she's making a change to the society around her. I admire her a lot. And whether I want to help others, obviously yes. If all of us think like we can help others, we all can bring a big change to the community.
If you had like one piece of advice to someone who's just starting out as an entrepreneur, what would you like to tell them?
Um, I think if there is an idea or a spark within yourself, you don't have to wait on something. Just believe in yourself. For that, you need to love yourself. That is the first major thing I would say. I would tell to everyone out there. You have to love yourself, and then just go. That's it.
Okay. So my final question for you: how do you define success?
Um, Success for me is happiness, and happiness is success. Nothing else.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ranju. It was nice talking to you. Actually thrown a lot of light into a many things about women, and how women or children or girls are not taking up any technical roles. Something even we worry when we don't see a lot of girls coming for our workshops, and when we actually, when some girls come, we find that they do very well than the boys. But somewhere I feel this technology or like hand skills, technology regarding hand skills, girls are still backward, or they don't want to think about it. Probably it all, maybe from our homes we have to start instilling that into them. So it was nice talking to you, and wish you all the best. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Annie.